Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. Today, we will be discussing a show that I have watched the whole series of, and I really liked. I don't know if I'd still love it if I watched the whole thing. I think I would, though. We'll dive into my feelings on it later. But the show that we're watching, which I've watched, and Rachel hadn't. I mean, she's seen the first episode. Wow, this is a great intro, everybody. Okay. The show is Everything Sucks. So here we go. Everything Sucks is a Netflix original series. Today we will be discussing episode 1 of the one-season show. Luke and Kate are the main people whose stories we follow. They meet in AV club at their high school. Luke offers to help fix a camera, but Kate has to check it out because she is a sophomore, and the two of them go to Luke's. The episode ends with Luke planning to ask out Kate, and Kate getting caught by her father with a sexy magazine. Now, the nature of this sexy magazine would be like a Playboy magazine. It's not Playboy, but it'd be of that sort.
Yeah, so it's funny that they went this far in the first episode because I guessed that they were hinting at something like this with Kate early on, and I was like, why can't I remember what it was? It was so everyone's at lunch, and all of a sudden these two random students just get up and start yelling at each other. It's like, you're a slut or whatever, and just screaming, but go into Shakespearean type language while also calling each other sluts and bitches or whatever they're calling each other. And I kind of thought I caught Kate looking at the girl that was yelling and acting, and I couldn't be sure. I literally wrote, "Is Kate gay?" ? And then we see her go to the was it Luke's house? We see her go to his house, and they're kind of hanging out. They're friends or whatever, but I don't really see any connection with her to him. She connects emotionally, but not romantically. And then is yeah, you're cute, when she leaves or whatever, but it's not serious, but he takes it so seriously. And then she goes home, and I was like, God, what is going to happen now? And she had taken a magazine from Luke's house that had naked women in it, and I was like, oh shoot, she's gay. Because she starts unbuttoning her pants and opening up the magazine, and I was like, oh no, you know something's gonna happen. It's a comedy, so you know something's gonna happen. And lo and behold, something very embarrassing happened. It was her father, who is the principal of the school, walking and catching her. And Hannah, her dad had a very different reaction than I thought he was going to have. Do you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, it's so great because the dad is really oblivious, super, super oblivious. He sees the magazine. He does not know what has just been happening. And Kate is literally frozen. She's just have you ever seen a dog when they get in trouble and they just freeze in place because they think that they've disappeared? I pick up that vibe where it's she just froze, and it's maybe if I don't do anything, he'll stop talking and leave the room. But he's oh, sweetie, you don't have to look like the women in these magazines. You don't have to look like that. And I don't know if he used the word breasts or if he was your top area doesn't have to look like they do, and neither. And then he's trying to imply that if she does or doesn't have pubic hair to match the women in the magazine, it doesn't matter. And she's just Dad, can we just get out of my room? And he came in the room to ask what she wanted for dinner, and it was 2 different frozen dinner options. And then he's the ziti it is. And he just leaves the room. And it's so good though, because I think that they could have made it where her dad actually found out what was happening, and that would have been one thing, but now it's just like so funny that he was so oblivious to what was happening, and yet it's still like so awkward because she's like, oh my God, like it's happened. And what you don't see, because, and spoiler alert, people, because I've seen it, so I'm spoiling, she is questioning, like for the show, like this is like her questioning her sexuality. She doesn't know if she's gay. She doesn't know if she's bi. She doesn't know if she's straight. She doesn't know what she's feeling. But she's, I think, 16, a sophomore in high school, and she has taken this magazine, which used to belong to Luke's father. And yeah, as the series goes on, you see kind of like what's happening in her mind, what it feels like to be someone who's questioning their sexuality and not know, like, if they're normal and if they should be feeling this way, or if they're feeling this way, does this mean something or does it not mean something? And yeah, it's interesting. And the relationship she and Luke form is interesting too. I I like that. But I also really, really love how this is set in the 90s. It starts on Friday, September 27th, 1996. So that's the year Rachel and I were born. That'd be right after both of our birthdays. We'd been days old.
Well, I think that might be why her dad doesn't really suspect anything, not because like there weren't any gay people, but like why would he assume like she's looking at it for pleasure when there's such an obvious answer right there? Obviously, it's because she wants to look like them. I don't know if he ever like suspected in that moment that it was that because she was gay or like questioning that, but I think either way, like this was just an easier answer for him, especially in in the 90s when like magazines like this were really popular and like boys were always looking at them, and so maybe that's why she would want to look at it, because like Hannah said, he doesn't know that she was just like trying to masturbate to this magazine. So that was very funny. I was like, oh man, they're going there right now. And
They
I
also throw in him saying, oh, don't worry, I've looked at a few of these myself.
uh-huh, I was like, father, shut up. Dad, I do not want to know these things. Do not need to know. I'll just also be oblivious to the fact that like you are an adult man. Please shut up forever. I like that it took place in the 90s, and the way that they hit you right at the beginning, it's just like an instant hit of nostalgia, even though, like Hannah said, we were days old at this time. But the thing with like the olden days, like pre all of the technology that we have, I feel like trends and stuff, especially like physical trends, stayed a lot longer. And so a lot of the toys that kids who were born in 96 played with, so the toys that kids born in 1990 played with, you know, like I feel like things didn't progress as quickly. So while some of the movie references and stuff were not it for me, the like games and stuff, like that guy, one of the guys in the show had like this cup and like some putty or something and was making farting noises with it, which didn't happen in school for me, but like kids I knew had that. They weren't like playing pranks with it in the middle of class, but like recess or whatever in elementary school. So yeah, there's the age gap a little bit, but we were still playing with the same things. So I still felt extreme nostalgia watching it.
It was like so fun to see certain things. And obviously, throughout the episodes, there's more things that you would see that would be from your childhood. That's like, wow, yeah, I remember that. Or like the food options or things like that, or like the interior of a house and stuff like that, which I just think is fun to watch. And you are hit with it immediately. Now, this setting is in Boring, Oregon, which I looked up because I had to know, and it is not a real place, which I was sad about because like, how funny would that be if there was a place called Boring, Oregon? But the school announcements, there's these two kids from the high school doing school announcements, which were actually video, like you could see them. And the like slogan, because they live in Boring, Oregon, is they're like, have another boring day. I
I
think
loved
that's so
that.
great.
I thought that was hilarious because they're really owning up to like their town name, and it's just like have another boring day. Nothing probably happens there. So it was all sorts of just tie-ins at once. I thought that was a funny name. And they say it at the beginning, right? Or maybe that's in the trailer where it's like we live in boring Oregon where nothing happens or whatever. And a lot happened on the first day of school. So I love that these kids just look like normal kids, like none of them were like hot or whatever, which okay, that's just objectively like just talking, like obviously I don't think any of them are hot, they're all children, but like none of them were like the hot kid in school. I didn't really notice, like even the girl that Kate was in love with was just like maybe like classic theater kid, but not like classic popular cheerleader type looking person, which I really liked. And I like that Luke is in love with Kate, who's like the most normal looking person I've ever seen in my life, and it's just very cute and very real, I feel like, because everyone in high school shows is always in love with like the hottest one there. They all have like this big crush on like the football star, the basketball star, the head cheerleader, things like that. So I really liked the normalcy, and it actually made it feel super real to me. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I like that they didn't have anyone that was, like you said, particularly just like super attractive. And the teachers too. So Kate's dad is the principal, like Rachel already said, and he's so awkward and like trying to be a dad, but also trying to be the principal. And Kate is like, at school, just like treat me as a student. And then he's like, Kate, love you, or I don't remember what he says, something like that, that a dad would say. And she's like, and he's like, oh, sorry. Like he's trying. And the AV club teacher is great. He's just like a mess. And he swears and he's just like, I don't know. He seems like so real, which I love. And I'm trying to think how many other teachers we see throughout this series, but it's just good to see the normalcy. And okay, so the girl that Kate sees, her name's, I can't remember if it's Emmeline or Emmeline, but it's Emma, one of those. I'm gonna go with Emmeline. 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 It's Emmeline, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But she is in the theater stuff. So she does productions, and she is actually dating that guy that she does the scene with. I can't remember his name, but they both become parts in this story, and we learn more about their stories. And the funny thing though is that the girl who plays Emmeline is actually Sarah Sweeney, who's in Euphoria and a bunch of other things. And she's like, I'm surprised you don't know who that is. She's a pretty big name, but yeah, like if you've seen Euphoria, you know who Sarah Sweeney is. And I can't think of what she was in Halsey's music video for Tangerine or something like that. And she has a movie coming out, or a few. But yeah, I'm surprised you have not heard of her.
I've
Really,
never seen her
truly
in my life.
surprised.
That's okay, because I don't really recognize anyone. I'm watching Downton Abbey with my boyfriend's family right now, and they'll be like, just wait till you see Cora's mom. And Jack and I are like, we don't know who that is. It's like this like 80-year-old woman. We're like, I don't know who this is. The only person I've recognized was Paul Giamatti. It plays a small role in it. And then a guy who's in Ted Lasso, who is just like one of the butlers. And so I'm literally, he'll be like, oh, wait till you see this other person. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Sorry. And they're like super famous too. And I'm like, I literally couldn't tell you. You say the name's not even familiar to me. So this is not going to be new, people. Like we said at the beginning, started this podcast because I've never seen anything. And now I've seen a lot of stuff, still don't know who anyone is. I don't recognize pretty much anyone in this show. I feel like they either haven't been in a lot of stuff or they're only in stuff that I haven't seen. Did you recognize any of the other actors in this?
No, I think everyone else was new. And Sarah Sweeney was new at the time too, actually. I think that filming for this started, I'm trying to remember what year this came out. I feel like it was probably 2019. So they could have been filming as early as 2017, you know? And everyone is younger than us. Sarah Sweeney might be our age. Otherwise, the other main characters would be younger than we are. But they all sort of, I think, maybe have been in something else now. At least Sarah Sweeney and the girl who plays Kate, I can't remember her name. Peyton something. Peyton Kennedy, maybe, I
It's not
guess.
Sarah Sweeney, it's Sydney Sweeney.
Oh yeah, Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney. Wow, look at me. How many times have I called her Sarah?
Let me look at her.
Sydney Sweeney. Yeah,
Yeah, she's really
I don't
famous
know why.
right now. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I saw part of, but I do not recognize her from that at all.
You probably picked up by now that I guess I must be pretty visual. Like maybe for you, when you see a show or hear a show, like you want really good dialogue and you want really good story points. And there's definitely really good story points in this too. But for me, if it doesn't look good, I don't care if it's like the world's best story. I'm gonna say it's garbage, you know? Like I need it to look good.
Yeah, I'm about story, and which is funny. So, Everything Sucks is like kind of a boring the episode that we watched. Like, just in general, like a lot of like little things happen, but nothing like besides the last scene like big happens. But that doesn't mean I didn't like it. Like, I really do want to watch more of the show, which I think is interesting because I think it's because it does touch on like real high school life. I don't know, even in the 90s. I know I didn't go to school in 96, but I feel like high schoolers don't change that much. We talked about it in Hannah, where she literally grew up in the woods and she still had the teenage angst and was going back against her dad and like against authority and not listening. Like teenagers don't change that much. You could give them all the technology in the world, you could give them literally no technology, no civilization, and they're all going to be the same in some way or another. So I like that about this because I love shows about high school, middle school, things like that, Degrassi. I liked the first season of Riverdale, but then it got really terrible. All Americans really good, Andy Mack, this show. So I think that I will watch the rest of the show, but I will say like it just was uneventful compared to like the type of stuff that people seem to be making nowadays. And I think the only reason there isn't another season because COVID hit, or was it just not renewed at all yet, like right when it came out?
They were trying to get it renewed. Like I remember the actors, they all had petitions going, or like if so many people signed it, they were gonna renew it, but then it was just like not enough people wanted it, I guess. And I was like really sad about it. I I want to find when it came out because for me, I feel like it was, well, we'll see if I'm correct, but I kind of feel like it was when I was still in college, but I could be very wrong about that. And so I guess we've released at this point what our episode for next week would be, correct? The internet knows. Okay, so next week, you know that we'll be talking about Outer Banks. And the one thing that I really like about Everything Sucks versus Outer Banks is that this cast looks like high schoolers. Outer Banks looks like they're at least college people, you know? They just um so that's one thing also that's just really nice about this show is it really just feels like it's the high school experience. It's these kids that are kind of awkward and maybe they're not grown into their adult bodies yet. And some of them are, some of them aren't. And it goes through what being that high schooler is like. And if I'm not mistaken, in one of the episodes, Luke's voice is doing like the whole, "Ah," like, because he's going through puberty, you know? So I'm like, oh, that's great. Okay, it came out in 2018. So I was wrong. It was not when I was still in college, but it definitely filmed in 2017 then, maybe as early as 2016. I don't know how early they filmed it. But 2018, where was I at in my life? You know, I want to know. And I just remember feeling connected to the story though. And like Kate, obviously, but I don't know. And then there's like the whole theater aspect and just like the awkwardness of being in high school. And I felt like I never really saw a show that accurately portrayed how awkward and weird high school can be at times.
Yeah, without like being cringy about it. Yeah, a lot of shows will be really cringy about how awkward it is because it's like these people have never been in high school before, I swear, the people who write these shows. But I don't know how they went about it. I don't know who they talked to. I don't know if they all had, you know, very, very detailed diaries of what it was like when they were in high school. But these writers knocked it out of the park, at least for the pilot. So I really enjoyed it. And the casting is phenomenal. Like we said, they look like children. They look tiny. Like literally, Luke is like 5 feet tall. I swear. He's like so short. And I just love it that these kids are kids, and I believe the struggles that they're going through, the feelings that they're having, and it doesn't even if it looked like acting, I would still believe it because they're at the age where they're going through these things. The thing where you said that Luke might be going through like voice changes in one of the episodes is hilarious. So in high school, I actually like felt really bad for this kid, but during one of the plays my sister was in, one of the main actors was like going through that as well. And it was like he was playing like a serious role, and all of a sudden like the worst one happened, and I know he was trying to contain it like so badly, but he had to like yell down the stairs or up the stairs at someone, and his voice cracked so hard. It I mean, the audience was trying not to, but it definitely was just like a comedic moment. Thank God the play was kind of funny, but he was playing like the serious role, I think. I don't think his character was supposed to be the funny one, but oh my gosh, I was so glad it wasn't me. That's all I gotta say. Even though like everyone was trying to be good about it, I'm glad it wasn't me because high school is dangerous.
It is dangerous. Did you ever have a moment in a show where something didn't go as planned for you specifically, but you had to go with it anyway?
Not for me. Okay, two. Well, kind of. One, not for me specifically, but in 8th grade when I was in Bye Bye Birdie, one of the guys was supposed to come out, and I was just an extra. But this guy was supposed to come out, and he was supposed to have a jacket on. Well, apparently while he was putting the jacket on, it just like ripped in half or something. And so he came out with like no jacket on, but it was like way later than he was supposed to because they were trying to figure crap out, and we're 8th graders, so like we don't know what to do. And the guys who were playing the cops, I thought played it off really well, but they probably were like super obvious. They're like, you really should be here by now. Like, we're cops. Like, I don't know what they were doing, but that happened. And then, so another time in another show I was in, they're all so small, I'm just going to run through all of them. It was The Man Who Came to Dinner, and the main guy is in a wheelchair for the show because he like slipped on the front steps or whatever. And every time he comes in, he's only supposed to come in from this sliding doorway because the other hallway doorway is supposed to be like upstairs or whatever. And they like couldn't get the door open. It like jammed shut, like jammed partway open. You couldn't fit the wheelchair through. So they'd be like go around and be like, oh, so sorry about that. Like, I don't know, they were just being dumb. But the one time it happened to me specifically, and it's not that big of a thing, but I was in a play very recently in college, actually. Like, I'm in grad school and I was in a play, like not as an acting student. So this was very strange. I had to jump in when an actress ditched us 2 days before the show. And so I learned all the lines and got it. But on like the last night, I just think it's so funny. So I have to like jump on stage from the audience or whatever. And I'm like so mad at this guy. I'm like playing characters in the play, but also breaks the fourth wall a bunch where I'm just like the actress yelling at the main guy who wrote it or whatever. And I'm like yelling at him and I'm like going off, and then all of a sudden we like sit down and I forgot the next line. I just sit down, I just stare at him, and he knows nothing is coming out of my mouth. He knows there's nothing up here, literally not a single word. So he, being a very good actor and actually a performing arts major himself, just like kind of said my next line for me. And the best part was, so like if I didn't know my lines at all, like from the first show, because like I said, I had to learn them in 2 days, an entire like 2-hour show in 2 days. Okay. And I had a lot of lines, and we had stuff built in where I could like call to the sound booth because it broke the fourth wall so much that like it would have been fine that I like stopped the show and asked for my lines. But this was like so far into it and I was playing myself rather than the actress. So I just yep, just sitting here. And so he said it and then it flooded back. I got everything back and the show was not ruined forever, but it was fine. No one noticed. Has that happened to you? You've been in so many shows, I feel like.
For me specifically, there was one very clear moment in my mind that something went wrong. I was in the best Christmas pageant ever, and it was a day performance during school. So we had a bunch of elementary age kids come. I feel like it was fifth graders, maybe. The fifth grade kids got to come watch. And I have this one scene where I'm supposed to be pretending to be Gladys as an angel. And she's supposed to, though, be kind of not doing what she's supposed to be doing. And she hits these guys on the head who are supposed to be the herdmans or the shepherds. Sorry, the herdmans. I was a herdman. The shepherds on the head with this wand. Because she gets the wand from the director. And, I'm supposed to be like using it nicely. And I'm just like, come out hitting the shepherds. And when I start to do this, the wand flies apart. And I don't mean it like falls apart a little bit and like crashes to the ground. I mean the head, the star part flies into the audience. And so in character, I was just like, wow. And then I like pretended to keep hitting them just with the stick part. But one of my two best friends were sitting in the audience for that show, and I could just hear them dying laughing. I had to keep in character the whole time, and people on stage are breaking character. I can hear my friends in the audience just like dying, and I just had to stay in character. But luckily for me, my character was crazy, so me acting crazy and kind of laughing would be fitting. But it was still like, oh my gosh, don't just like die and stop.
People said I did a really good job in that play, but like I am not an actor, okay? Like I put my all into this show because I was like, this is my last chance to like really act, especially as someone who's not like going into acting. But when I was in high school, we did this other play. It was called Snow Angel, and I smile so easily. Like I laugh so easily when I'm like acting. So one of my tricks, we had this thing where we were like in a car and someone was driving like really, really crazy in the winter time, I guess. And we like would, run around and like, but then it would like freeze and someone would talk like to the audience or whatever. And I would just freeze with my mouth open because if it was open, then it didn't feel like I was like trying to not smile so bad because it wouldn't make sense if I was sitting there like, frozen, like, so I'd be like, or whatever. So that it was like my trick to keep my muscles like focused on doing something else instead of like trying not to laugh, Obviously, this is a show or a podcast you must watch the video for, apparently, but no, it was fun. I love when mistakes happen on stage, though. I think it makes the show a little bit more fun and keeps you on your toes as an actor, so.
I guess in the same show, the best Christmas pageant ever, someone decided, now, if y'all know me at this point, I'm a germaphobe and I don't like germs and like you need to wash your hands and I don't want to eat things just from anywhere, I'll feed myself, thank you. And this person thought that they should get like 4-day-old frosting that's been sitting in a bowl on their finger and put it in my mouth. And I had to roll with it. Oh,
why did this happen?
Yeah, I don't know, but luckily for me, my character was wild, so my response was I got to play bite her, and I kind of like actually bit her arm. Like I was like, ah. I was like, heck no, you did not just stick your nasty finger that I don't know where it's been in my mouth with 4-day-old frosting.
Was it just one time that they did it, or did they do it for every show?
No, it's just one time.
I would have spit it in her face. I think that would have been really funny, actually, if you just went spit it right back at her. That would have been hilarious.
I think I spit it on myself. Like I just like oh, I wiped it on one of my brothers from the show. I did do that. I spit it in my hand and wiped it on him, and then I bit her. I was like, yeah. Yes.
You're like,
Terrible.
this is what happens when you're gross to me. Like, we did not rehearse this, my friend. As a show that literally dealt with theater for 2 seconds, we just went into a very long tangent about theater, but that's okay because guess what? We love it. So, um, I wanted to say that one of my favorite moments of this show was when Kate went over to Luke's house. And I thought it was weird that he was recording her and like that part is whatever. Like he was trying to fix the camera. Apparently like the lens was getting sticky stuff on it so it wasn't focusing properly, which is totally something that would happen. And so he like recognized that problem and they like were asking about each other's families, I guess. And Luke was just really short about it and was like, "Oh yeah, my mom's always working and my dad like dipped out, like don't know where he's at, that loser sucks, like I don't care about him," which like I feel like he does like kind of care though because he's a kid and it's his father that I feel like was in his life for like a portion and he's just trying to like push that he's like I don't have any feelings about it, right? And then he asks about her parents. He's like he knew that the principal was her dad, right? Like did he mention that then? But then he asks about her mom and he's like, or she starts going off about how like her mom actually died when she was really young and how it was really hard for her because no one knows what to do. No one knows how to talk to you when you have a dead parent, especially like if they die when they actually know you and it wasn't just like, oh yeah, my mom died when I was 3 before I had any friends, you know. And it's like this really sweet moment. I had to just like go with it. I was like, are they really going to be going into this on like their first meeting? They just started high school like today. But I just went with it and it was a very, very like honest. It was nice that they had each other. Like it seemed like they really needed each other in this moment. And I don't know if she was just like picking up on the fact like, okay, I know he likes me and he seems like he actually cares about me, so I'll do this, or it was because he was a stranger, so she felt like doing it. But it really sounds like even though she went to therapy, that she's not really had this release of her emotions, and I really, really liked the moment. I still kind of wonder if it was too early, but it was really sweet. I just hate that he was recording her saying it and he was like watching it later or whatever. And I know it's just because like she's pretty and like he wants to keep seeing her and they don't have like camera phones, like iPhones to like take pictures or look at her Instagram or anything. So like I get it, but it was just a little weird that part. And he like felt really embarrassed too, like when he had the camera on her while she was like literally opening up her guts to him. But what did you feel about kind of that scene?
Well, I think that the aspect of him filming her and like being just in awe at her beauty is really cool and just like watching him film her. I did think that her spilling her guts and him getting that on camera is like a little awkward. But I also think that, and I could be wrong, but I think that the video that he has, you can't actually hear anything on it. So when he's watching her back, it's just like her talking, but you can't hear what she's talking about, which in my mind makes it like a little less inappropriate. But I think that she is just spilling her guts because someone finally asked and like she felt safe with him or not threatened or something. And because he had already said that his dad split and just like having that similarity with the whole one parent raising you sort of thing. I really like how she addressed it. And then you can tell like she kind of was like, oh, like she realized at the end of what she was saying that like, I just said this. Should I have said this? Which I think was a good way to take that because sometimes you do say something and you realize afterwards, like, oh, I, I just went there. Did I mean to go there? And I think that in high school, especially if you have emotions, like you're probably just telling people things. I mean, I opened up to way more people than I should have in high school. I don't know if you did, but I did.
Yeah, I don't know so much about like high school if I really opened up that much, but like maybe college. I don't know. I feel like there have definitely been times when I just like say things I'm like, crap. Like the next day I'm like, I shouldn't have said any of those words, but whatever. I try not to like regret things that much anymore at least, just because it like takes up so much space in my head, I don't want to always be feeling bad. So I just try from like an early age, I just tried to like stop caring about like what people thought of me or like being embarrassed about things. And that kind of has helped with like regret as well, like not regretting things that I do or say. Because I feel like as a kid, a lot of the things people regret are things that made them embarrassed. But then there are obviously like decisions that I make as an adult that aren't because of embarrassment, but it's like that probably was the wrong decision or things like that that I could regret. But I try my best not to. Because I don't like negativity in my body. I don't like feeling that a lot. So
I don't think negativity in your body is a good thing. I think it can create lots of bad things inside your body. I guess this podcast kind of got into a lot of things. We got into emotions and got into some of our theater stories, and of course, the show Everything Sucks. That is all that I have to say on this show. Do you have anything else to add?
no, just that I'm gonna watch it eventually once I get caught up on all my other shows because I did like it, and it's only one season, and each episode's like a half hour, so it's not gonna take up too much of your time.
Correct. We do have social media accounts that you should follow. Our YouTube is You Talking to Me podcast, which I believe you should watch, especially this episode because there's a lot of nonverbal things happening. And if you go to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit the little notification bell so you are notified every time we post. Plus, you have to subscribe. And then the other social medias, I'll leave up to Rachel because she knows them better than I do.
Yeah, you can email us at youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. Follow our Instagram where you will get our Instagram lives, which ours is coming up in less than 1 week. Oh my gosh, this went so fast. So on Sunday, please go watch. We're going to be talking about The Bold Type, which is our favorite show, honestly, one of our favorite shows of all time. And it's sad now knowing that it's over. Like watching the pilot again, knowing that there's no more show. I think honestly, just for a spoiler, we're going to be talking about the pilot, but we're also probably going to be talking about the whole show and our feelings about the ending and everything. So just come prepared to either not care about knowing spoilers or having already seen the whole show. But you can follow that at youtalkingtome.podcast on our Instagram, where, like I said, we have lives. We show you sneak peeks for what the next months are going to be. And season 2 is coming to an end soon. We have just like 4 more episodes left till season 2 is done. And then Twitter, You Talking to Me 11, because we're both number 1. And actually, one of our followers, our listeners, told me how to change the handle of Twitter. She texted me the other day and was like, I actually know how to do it. You do this. And I'm like, oh, dang, we've been caught. But we are both number 1, so maybe it won't change. I don't know. You'll find out shortly enough, I guess. And then, like we said, please just watch our YouTube. Listen to us every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. With that, I think we're done. Hannah, take us out.
All right. Yeah, thank you for covering all that. And give us feedback. You can also give us a rating on, I know Apple Podcasts, you can give us 5-star. I don't know what Spotify or the other streaming places do, but give us a review. But with that, my name is Hannah.
My name is Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. Bye.